All right, everybody, Commodore fans, appreciate you guys coming back. VandySports.com, the YouTube channel. Just an angel ripping Lebanon football. Go Blue Devils.
Blue Devil pride, man.
Blue Devil Pride. BDP Pride.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there we go. All right, Sean Williams, just an angel here. Spring football roster previews for Vanderbilt Commodores. Just kind of kicked off spring practice this week. Weren't able, scheduling issues caused us not to do these last week, so we are finishing them up this week. We've got one left. That is the quarterback position, and there was one guy that shined a lot last year, and leaves a lot of promise, especially when you've got a new staff coming in to kind of build your program around and turn this program around. So this one's going to be, it's going to be the Ken Seal show. So let's just get to it, Justin. How about it?
Let's do it.
All right, Ken Seals. 9-game starter. Vandy freshman records. 64.6 passing percentage. 1,928 yards. He pretty much did it all. As a freshman, 214.2 passing yards per game, 12 touchdowns, 10 picks, 3 games with at least 300 yards passing, 1874. I don't know. That might be wrong. But 20 or more completions 6 times, 200 or more passing yards 5 times, 336 yards passing at Mississippi State, 319 passing yards against Florida. Justin, you couldn't ask for a better start for a true freshman by Ken Seals. Obviously one of 2 true freshmen nationally who completed 60% of his passes through more than 1,000 yards. Your impressions of Ken Seals as a true freshman in the SEC?
Well, that's the thing. When I'm looking at these stats as you're going over there, I'm sitting there thinking, well, they didn't have an opportunity to play against Mercer last year or
Right.
any group of 5 schools.
Those
That was
warm-up
100%
games.
against Southeastern Conference competition. So, and playing behind an offensive lineman that had a starting guard that was a defensive tackle 3 weeks before the season. So when you start to think about stuff like that, that makes those stats that you've thrown out there even more impressive. And you talk about the Vandy freshman records. I was sitting there thinking, well, Jay Cutler started as a freshman. Of course, as a redshirt freshman,
Right.
but to beat his numbers, that's pretty impressive as well. But as far as talking about Ken Seals, I mean, an excellent freshman year, and something that I really liked about him when he first came in. And they practiced 2 or 3 times in the spring, and me and Chris Lee were able to get out there and watch him this past season during spring practice, and you could just tell, that he had a little bit of confidence to him. It was similar to kind of how Kyle Shermer was, but you could notice that he was a more athletic than what Shermer was. But something I really like about Ken Seals is, and I know a lot of people view this as a negative sometimes, but I think it's something that you have to have as a quarterback, is you got to have a little bit of gunslinger in you.
Right.
Most of your quarterbacks at sometimes, you can't just be reckless with it and just turn it over 3 or 4 times a game, because that stuff right there gets you beat. But if you're going to be able to throw the football consistently, you got to have a little bit of a gunslinger mentality. And sometimes that means, hey, I'm going to fit it into a window that I shouldn't, but I think I can because I have the arm to do that. And I just think that Ken Seals possesses that a little bit. And, you could see, as the year progressed, and just, something, his attitude and the way that he is, and just how he's always excited all the time. I think that's something that, that goes through that team. And it's something that, his teammates, they rally around him and do those things. And that's something that greatly helped his offense this past year. Not to beat a dead horse, and we've said this several times, but going into the year last year, everybody thought offense was going to be behind, going to be a struggle, uphill battle, and then the defense was going to, uh, be the strength of the team. And then when you got into the season, it was, actually the opposite of that. The
Right.
offense. And part of that, I think, was the attitude that Ken Seals had, and just kind of, his always being, kind of upbeat and going, and seemed to have a whole lot of fun doing those things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. You went to a couple practices last year, spring practices before COVID shut everything down. I'm pretty sure I went to the first one and just kind of noticed that about him. And obviously, I saw him. He was at Friday Night Lights the summer before, and
right.
really liked his attitude, his mentality. Just you could tell he's got natural leadership qualities about him, and you could tell that on the practice field. That first spring practice. Seemed very comfortable out there, and I mean that's his first college practice, so kind of tell that good things were coming for him, and they came right away, and he performed above and beyond expectations, and now there's a lot of expectations for him, and I think there's a lot of confidence in this offense moving forward. I know it's changing, you got the new staff coming in and everything, but there's a lot of confidence that you've got the right guy to turn this thing around. And I mean, like I said, the offense was not bad last year. And I will ask you this. I mean, we talk about the numbers with Seals and everything, and it's super impressive, and he's a super impressive kid and a leader. Was there any knocks on his game last year? Things he can improve on? Obviously, freshman, there's going to be knocks in your game, and especially when you get thrown into the fire of an all-SEC schedule. But maybe one or two things that, Ken could probably do better at just as he moves into his sophomore year.
Well, as I said, gunslinger, you're going to have some positives from that, and then also sometimes you're going to get some of the negatives from that, and the fact that you're going to throw some interceptions. But as I said, you just got to make sure that you're controlling that. And
Mm-hmm.
you can put it into tight spots and do those things, and that's fine. As you throw a pick here or there, do those things, but you've got to make sure that you're not turning the ball over too much. And last year I thought he did a decent job of that. He threw 10 picks, but not just a huge amount there. But
Right.
Something that he does have now, he's not a runner per se like Mike Wright, who we're going to talk about here in a minute. But I do think that he has enough of running ability to do that a little bit more, to
Mm-hmm.
make have to defend that, and that's something, with college offenses nowadays where they're going to these dual threat quarterbacks, it just makes it so much tougher to defend because they're +1, Now, I don't
Right.
think Ken Seals is ever going to be a guy that just runs for a huge amount of yardage, but he needs to be a guy that can, pick and choose his spots there where he can keep it on zone read and do those type things that keeps that defense honest. I think that's something that he can do.
Yeah. To um, kind of piggyback on what you just said. I think just in my opinion, maybe some red zone. He can do things like that. I would like to see him do more things like that, and that's probably maybe more of a offensive play calling type of situation last year. But
That is true.
in the
Yes.
red zone, I would have liked to seen him, maybe run a little bit more in certain situations. Like maybe drop back with the intention to pass, but then take off and run a little bit more. We kind of saw Mike Wright come into a lot of red zone situations because he has that ability. He's so athletic. He's quick. He's fast. But Ken has that ability too. I think when a play breaks down, he can take off and run and get 5-6 yards or even more. Just depending on how that goes. So I'd say red zone efficiency probably needs to improve with him, and I think that'll come with time. You get thrown into a fire of an all SEC schedule. He did really well, for a true freshman
Yes.
to put up those kind of numbers, especially at Vanderbilt, especially behind that offensive line, like you said, Justin. It was missing a lot of pieces. Had a defensive lineman in the guard spot, so you couldn't ask for a better freshman year considering the circumstances for Ken Seals. And we'll talk a little bit about Mike Wright too, which I just kind of mentioned. Obviously, he played in 6 games, came in a lot of red zone, short yardage situations, different definitely a different type of quarterback, just in terms of the athleticism, his running ability, things like that. Justin, what did you kind of see from Mike Wright this past year?
Well, spectacular season that you had from Ken Seals, I think Vanderbilt fans would be excited about Mike Wright.
Mm-hmm.
Does he have some inconsistencies when he's throwing the football that we saw this past year? Absolutely. He did, and sometimes when you get dual threat guys, kind of sometimes the things that they're wanting to do is I want to take off running before I see if I got an open receiver or not, and
Right.
I think that was, an issue at times. But I also believe that there is a role for Mike Wright on this upcoming football team. Now, I don't know how they're going to use him or whatever it is, but I do think that he has a role. And that's something I'll give Fitch last year. I thought he did a good job of getting him involved once you get into those red zone
Mm-hmm.
opportunities, and being able to use his running ability and being +1 in the run game and doing those things, and it took Mike Wright a little bit to understand this. But when he first started, he was true freshman. Hey, I want to make plays. When he was doing that read stuff, it was mostly, hey, I'm going to keep it. Well, I'm
Right.
going to keep it, because I want to make a play. And when you're a guy that's the backup, that's what you want to do. Hey, I get my opportunity. I've got to make a play. But then he understood, hey, if I start handing this off, they're sitting out there just waiting on me. All right, then it's going to eventually open up opportunities for him, and then we got to see that with his rushing touchdown that he had against Kentucky.
Right.
But Mike Wright, I really like his attitude, and we look at it nowadays, and you got the transfer portal, and it seems like anytime any small thing happens, boom, they're heading right to it,
Right.
especially at quarterback where you don't have, there's going to be mainly one guy that's going to play, and there's, everybody else. And Mike Wright has Ken Seals here in the same class as him. And instead of, hey, I'm going to head into the transfer portal, his mentality is, I want to compete. So when he starts doing that, I like that mentality that he has. And I just think that you're going to be able to find a role for him somewhere on this team.
Yeah, and we were talking about it. You mentioned it, him having a role and coming in for some plays last year. We were talking about that before the season started last year. It's like find
Yes.
a role for Mike Wright. Put him in for a handful of plays. Have some design plays for him to come in, because he's just that dynamic of an athlete and a quarterback too. So I'm sure that I hope you would hope that trend does continue with the new offense and the offensive coaches and the offensive coordinator at Vanderbilt. I think Mike Wright's that dynamic of an athlete that he'll always have a role, a handful of plays to throw him in on
Right.
and everything. So obviously Seals, Wright are your main quarterbacks. You had Jeremy Musa on the roster last year. Obviously didn't see any action because Seals kind of was head and shoulders above the rest. Mike Wright got his playing time too. But if anything happens to these, Seals or Wright, Jeremy Musa's probably a capable backup. He's put up a lot of good numbers in JUCO, so you've got three good quarterback options there on the roster. Any thoughts on Jeremy Musa, Justin, on your end?
Well, the only chance we had to see him was this past spring,
And he was
and
injured.
he had broke his ankle, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
So he was in a boot, but we wasn't really able to see him very much. Something that when you look at this group is they got to remain healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I know some teams roll the dice and go with three quarterbacks, but I'm not sure what year it was, 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years ago. Maryland only had three quarterbacks. They all get hurt within the first 5 or 6 games. And they
Yeah.
end up taking a middle linebacker and moving him to quarterback. And if you're starting your middle linebacker at quarterback, it's probably not going to go real well for
Yeah.
you. But,
Design
you
runs all
know,
day, man.
but you got people like Gavin Schoenwald and others that's played quarterback in high school, but surely you don't get to that point there. But um, you would like Ken Seals to stay healthy, and that's something to build on there with that group. when you were looking at the Vanderbilt job coming open, something we had heard from a lot of people was the fact that they liked that Ken Seals was the
Right.
quarterback there because they had something to build around for the future.
Yeah.
So if you have coaches that are thinking that, you definitely have an impact kid there at that position.
Yeah. Yeah, Vanderbilt's definitely in good hands at the quarterback position moving forward. So definitely a nice building block for Clark Lee to get started, to have a good signal caller back there. I mean, that's obviously most important position on the field. So
100%. If you're not good at quarterback, it is tough to win football games. So,
that's what the
and I don't care what level it is.
that's what
If
the
you're not good at quarterback, it makes it tough on you offensively.
that's what all the experts say, by the way. So.
I'm not an expert,
Oh, okay. I
but
thought you were, man. You were in the Lebanon football T-shirt. I thought you were an expert on here, man. That's why I invited you on.
no, those are in the stands behind me on Friday.
Oh, okay. Especially like the last Saturday in November, right?
Yeah. Come on, line block.
All right, man. All right. Well, Vanderbilt's set, man, at quarterback. So that'll be interesting to see how Seals and the offense really just kind of develops moving forward. But I mean, you got. I will put down. I did write down a little key stat here. Just in passing offense, they were 72nd overall last year, Vanderbilt. So not bad.
Not bad.
Definitely a lot of improvement from the year before.
Yes.
So
when you talk about being a gunslinger, no offense to Riley Neal, but he was kind of the opposite of that. He did not want to get taken out, so he was going to be as conservative with it as possible. Right. Which I thought that he had the qualities to be a quality quarterback, but he just refused to try to fit it in there at times. And if you're going to do that in the Southeastern Conference, there's not going to be a whole lot of separation. Sometimes you're going to have to just try to fit it in there.
You can't be scared. You got to play with confidence. So
absolutely.
Sometimes hopefully most of the time it goes your way. Sometimes it's not. You just got to shake it off. So.
Right.
All right. With that being said, we appreciate you guys, joining us, and hopefully you like all these spring roster breakdowns that we've done, and we'll do some more creative stuff like this on our YouTube channel moving forward. So stay tuned for that, and we appreciate you guys checking in on us. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and that will notify you when new videos drop. You can watch them at your leisure. And subscribe to vandysports.com, only $9.95 per month if you sign up for a year. So with that being said, Sean Williams, Justin Angel, we are out. Thank you, guys.